Now here's another one this year that can make this a fabulous year for you, and that is to face your fears. We've all got them. The fear that we might not do a good job. The fear that it might not turn out as we hope it would. The fears that are lurking there, some that have come and have been there even maybe since our childhood. Life is consisted of both fear and faith. Faith, of course, is the ability to overcome your fears. But what you have to do in terms of your fears, about perhaps your own inadequacy, not feeling strong enough at the moment, you just have to face those fears. And you just have to go to work on them. What could I do to eliminate this fear, or to at least overcome it? Or what I like to say, drive it into a small corner. Because there's always the conflict between faith and fear. But here's what faith can do. Drive your fears into a small corner. But if you start amplifying your fears, guess what your fears can do? Drive your faith into a small corner. There's always a contest between one and the other, between good and evil, between darkness and light, between sickness and health, between liberty and tyranny. The contest is always on. But what we have to learn to do is face that dark side, face that difficult side, and see if we can't manage it. Maybe not eliminate it altogether, but drive it into such a small corner that it does not affect the rest of your performance. So face your fears, whatever they are. This is a good year to do that. You've got the strength to do it. You've got the help to do it. You've got the support to do it. This is the time to do it, this year, to make this your best year. Here's the next one that I would give you good advice for this year, and that is to exercise your willpower. No telling what you can do if you set your mind to do it. Two of the most powerful words in the language, I will. Benjamin Disraeli once said, nothing can resist a human will. And if you'll use those two words a little more often this year, I will learn the disciplines. I will get better every day. I will make sure my presentation is the best. I will make the best of my opportunity. I will maximize my time. I will try to correct my errors in judgment better this year than last year. I will do a superb job. If you'll use that willpower, I'm telling you, the I will power that you have is unmatched. If you'll just use it. Sometimes we have a lot that we aren't using. It's like having a bank account and you never write a check. That would be a little strange. Or you have a $10 million bank account and you keep writing $1 checks. What I'm asking you to do, you've got a $10 million bank account of willpower. What I'm asking you to do this year, and that is to write some larger checks. Take on some larger challenges. And say to yourself, hey, I've learned to solve problems in the past. I will solve the problems of the future. I will correct my mistakes. I will learn to meet people that I was afraid of before. I will learn to master getting up and talking in those public meetings. I will become a leader and help people with their Herbalife future. I will make the necessary changes. I'm telling you, you can do that. Here's another one. Admit your mistakes. Sometimes we have to admit our mistakes to others around us that we sort of let down because of those mistakes. We have to admit to others that we're counting on us, that, it didn't work out and we made those mistakes. But here's the most important, and that is to learn to admit your mistakes to yourself. The most powerful counsel that you can possibly have is the counsel of your own conscience, the counsel of yourself. We appreciate the counsel of Mark Hughes. We appreciate the counsel of the president's team, the chairman's club. We appreciate the counsel of the leaders who are around us. We appreciate even the counsel of our family. We appreciate the counsel of our close friends. We appreciate the counsel of those we trust, whose information can be valuable to us. But here's the most important counsel to start trusting, and that is your own personal counsel. You've got some ways to figure out answers to problems that you probably haven't even tried. Admit your mistakes to yourself and sometimes just sit down with your private self and have a conversation. Here's where I blew it. Here's where I could have done better and I didn't. Here's where I let it go when I should have put it together. And just admit that to yourself and look down inside your heart, inside your soul, and then seek your own counsel and make those necessary corrections and move on. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to have those kinds of days when it doesn't go well. We're all going to say things at times that's out of place, untimely. We should have restrained our language when we didn't. We lost our temper when we shouldn't have. All of that's going to happen to all of us. The key is to learn from it, from the counsel of others, mostly from the counsel of yourself. Here's another great bit of advice for this year to capitalize on the Herbalife momentum especially, and that is to refine your goals. Some good questions to ask. Why did you join Herbalife? Why were you attracted to this unique enterprise? For some of you, I know it was the products. You got fabulous results. For some of you, it was the financial opportunity for the future, or the combination of the products and the financial opportunity. Some of you heard about the teaching and the training and the classes that we have that help people with their personal development. You were interested in that. For some of you, it was a chance to be rescued from financial oblivion. You hadn't found answers, perhaps up till the time you found Herbalife. Or you've always wanted an enterprise, didn't have one. You've always worked on the job, worked for someone else. Now a chance to work for yourself. A chance to multiply your efforts here where you couldn't in some other situation. I don't know what all the reasons were that you joined Herbalife. What attracted you to this unique man, Mark Hughes? What attracted you to these fantastic products? What attracted you to the Herbalife support system? A chance to work with others to make your dreams come true. I don't know what all of those early decisions you made were that attracted you to this business, but it's not a bad idea to go back and think about that. What did I have in mind when I first heard the Herbalife story? What went through my mind? What I could do with this business? What I could do with these products? It doesn't hurt to go back and review that and to solidify that, to anchor it, to lock it down. Then you must also, from there, start amplifying your own system of thinking about your goals and thinking about your future. Some things you thought of that you could do now that you've been in the business for a while. Maybe you've been here for 1 year, 2 years. Now you need to reevaluate your goals, because a year ago, here's all you could see. When you first joined, this was all that you could possibly think about. We've all heard those testimonials that have inspired us all. When someone first joined, they said, if I could only make just $500 a month, that would be fantastic. But it wasn't long until they started changing those goals. But you must not only think of the financial goals that are possible for you, but all of the rest. And here's what I call all of those refinement of your goals, and that's reasons to do well. If you have enough reasons, you can do anything. If you have enough reasons, you can go as far as you want to go, cash in on all that you want to cash in on, if you have enough reasons. Enough reasons to get up early. Enough reasons to stay up a little late. Enough reasons to buckle down and learn the disciplines. Enough reasons to put yourself through the paces. Enough reasons to develop the language. Enough reasons to pay the price. Enough reasons to put your faith to work. If you'll come up with enough reasons, Herbalife can supply the rest in terms of challenge, opportunity, a company to work within, people to help you, a support system to be part of. All of that's possible. But you've got to constantly refine your goals. Some that you went for in the beginning, you've cast aside. I did that. Some things I went for all those years ago when I first started building my organization, some things I went for, I'm telling you, it cost me too much. If I'd have known what it was going to cost, I never would have paid. I've learned to adjust my goals. Something that was an obsession, found out, hey, that's not really what I want. First, there's too big a price to pay. Second, when you finally get it, it doesn't taste that good. So this is an ongoing process for you personally, for your business, and for your family. Keep refining your goals. Purpose is stronger than object. What you want is important, but what for is even more important. So decide what you want. Decide what you want it for. Keep working on that. Because if you work on that part, Herbalife's working on this part, the President's team's working on this part, all of that fits together. And if you'll keep a clear vision of the reasons why you want Herbalife to work for you, I'm telling you, then you will be more apt to cash in on the Herbalife opportunity and use this support system to change your days, to change the momentum of your organization, to change your future. Refine your goals. Now here's another one, and that is to believe in yourself. To believe that you have the power that we talked about earlier to change your life in any direction, any dimension that you want to. Believe in yourself. You've got to believe in the future. You've got to believe in the country where you live. You've got to believe in the economic system. You've got to believe that there are leaders that can figure out politically that we're going to be okay. We're going to develop a better world in the next few years than we've had in the last few years. You've got to believe in your community. You've got to believe in your church or your synagogue. You've got to believe in the people around you. Herbalife gives you plenty to believe in. The future, the vision, the possibilities, the opportunity. But here's the most important, and that is to believe in yourself. That if you need answers, they're right there within your own consciousness. If you need support, you've got it. It's there. Believe in yourself. You have the capability and the power. Don't complain about what there isn't available. You can make up for that with your own faith and your own strength and your own power. Who was it that said, I complained about not having any shoes until I met someone who had no feet? You have got all that it takes. You have got within you the ability to see, believe, have faith. And so this year of high Herbalife momentum, high Herbalife intensity, mix that with your belief in yourself, and your life will change, your days will change, your organization will change, it'll all change. Here's another one, just a couple of more. Next is to ask for wisdom. We all need to rely on a higher power. Within Herbalife, we rely on those that have gone before and developed this powerful organization. We look to Mark for this incredible vision of the future to do mega billions in terms of the scope of the company's power and ability to do business. We rely on that. We look up to that. We look up to the inspiration of those testimonials of those that have reached the Chairman's Club, the President's team, the Millionaire team, all the rest. Here's another one. Conserve your time. We've all been given the same amount of time. I remember when it finally occurred to me that rich people have about 24 hours a day and poor people have about 24 hours a day. What an incredible discovery. I said, wouldn't that make me curious? Here's the rich with the same time and the poor with the same time. I wonder what the difference is. And here's what life is all about, discovering the difference of how some people have learned to cash in on the time they've got, to cash in on the day and make it 5 times more valuable now than they used to be able to 5 years ago. To capitalize on the time that you have, to capitalize on the time, to capitalize on the freedom. If you have the time and you don't use it wisely, then you're probably destined to live less than a life in a lifetime. But if you learn to capitalize on your time, here's what's possible. You can live 5 lifetimes in one. You can live 10 lifetimes in one. Because life is not just the passing of time. Life is a collection of experiences, their intensity and their frequency. And Herbalife gives you that chance to have a much wider world than probably you could have just by yourself. Herbalife gives you a chance to think beyond where you are. Maybe for all those years before you found Herbalife, you just thought locally, right around where you were, because that was the extent of the opportunity. But now that Herbalife has come along and you have this chance to think beyond just around where you are, to think beyond touching just a few people into touching many, many people. That now, if you'll conserve your time and use it wisely, And I'm telling you, business-wise, you can live several lifetimes in one. And experiences in touching people's lives, having them come back and thank you for it, there is no greater gift. It's one of the reasons why I still travel all around the world to all of these countries. Sure enough, someone says, Mr. Rohn, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I listened to your story, I listened to what you had to say, and it touched my life. Look what's happened to me. You can't buy that with money. So I'm asking you to wisely use your time, what time you've got. I don't know if you've got 10 years left, or 20 years left, or 30 years left. It did occur to me not long ago, I'm working on the last half of my life, probably. But whatever time you've got, whether it's a little time or a lot of time, here's the key. Cash in on it. Don't let it just slide by. Cash in and make this time valuable. Make this time useful. If you've got an hour, fill it up. If you have a day, fill it up. If you have a chance to talk to someone, fill up that conversation with all that you've got and all that you know and all that you feel. And if you'll start cashing in on the time that you've got, I'm telling you, life will give you the opportunity to live more than one lifetime in a lifetime.
If you want to stop me, you might as well get all the armor you can. Why? Because I've discovered something more important than your threat. That's what purpose is all about. There's a passion for success. Success, therefore, has to have passion in it. If you could stop doing what you're doing and still be happy, you don't have any passion for what you're doing.
So in life, that's what we do. And the faster you cut your losses, fail fast, the faster you can start doing things that are much more productive. The second area has to do with every part of your business. Joe and I were talking about what I think is a revolutionary new field, though it's not revolutionary and it's not new, but it's business model innovation. And it's based on the concept that whatever business model you're using today is probably obsolete. If you're in any kind of a business that uses technology to market it, especially an information-based business, knowledge-based business, consulting services, training, anything else, chances are your business is obsolete. The way that you, and the business model is your method, your step-by-step process of generating profitability. Now, there are some companies that struggle along, and then find a new business model, and the next year their business is up 5 or 10 times. Profits are just overwhelming. They're living in big houses on the hill, driving Cadillacs and flying private jets, and you say, what on earth did they do? They changed their business model. And if you don't change your business model, if it's the wrong business model, two things are going to happen. Your competitors are going to come up with a new business model and eat your lunch, and or you're going to go broke. So it doesn't mean that your business model is wrong. It just means that you must be open to the possibility that your business model is obsolete. And that just means that there is a better business model. There's a superior business model, and your job is to find it. And again, there's no fixed answer to it, but I think that this is a great area of thought. I think this is a great area, and it's sort of like a tool for you to have. I wonder if I need to change my business model, which is your way of generating sales, producing and delivering products and services, getting payments, and achieving profitability.
The third principle that you must have to be successful is the principle that I call planning. Everybody say planning. Say it loud, planning. Come on, a little louder. Planning. Tell your neighbor, make a plan. You know, one of the weakest things I've seen in people's lives is they don't have a plan. I was talking to a young lady yesterday who was driving me, and I said to her, what's your vision in life? She says, I knew you were going to ask me that. And she says, you know, I don't have one. I said, well, you really are only existing. I said, you got nothing on paper for what you want to do for the rest of your life? I want you to turn with me to a scripture that hopefully will change your attitude. Look at the book of Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs 16, very interesting passage. And it says in verse 1, the heart of a man writes down his plans, but God gives the reply of the tongue. Let's read it again. To man belongs the plans of the heart, but from the Lord comes the reply of the tongue. Please underline that verse. It's a very important verse. It says, God has left it up to you to put the plans down on paper. But how it's going to be done, he says, he'll answer that one. Oh, I like that. He says, whatever you're dreaming, put it on paper. Whatever I put in your heart, write it down. Whatever you see in your vision, put it on paper, no matter how big it is. That means if you begin to dream of yourself owning a hotel, he says, write it down. Describe the rooms, describe the parking lot, put it all down. He says, don't worry about the $10 million to build it. You see, what we do is we try to do God's job. We try to explain how we're going to pay for it. He says, no, leave the reply to me. Leave the explanation to me. You write the plan on paper. You see, I've learned something. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Well, it even goes a little more important than that in this vein. If you don't have a plan, you will fail. Planning is a command of God. Look at verse 9, same chapter. It says, in his heart, a man plans his course, but the Lord determines the steps of that plan. Wow. Who puts the plan on paper? The human. Who determines the steps of it? God. Which means God will direct your steps if you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, God has nothing to direct. That's why you live from day to day, pillar to post, however the cookie crumbles, whichever the way the mop flops. People's lives have no direction, no sense of system, no sense of direction, and no scheme to it. They just kind of float from place to place, job to job, and just thing from thing and problem to problem. God cannot direct you if you don't have a plan.
So coming back to the second is look at anything in your business. Look at your products, look at your services, look at your people, look at the way that you advertise, market, and ask, is there anything that you're doing today that knowing what you now know, you wouldn't start up again today? And the only question that you ever ask is, does it work? Does it work? Does it work? If it's not working and you can tweak it, then that's fine. If it's not working, have the courage to admit this isn't working and abandon it. Now, the third area has to do with investments in zero-based thinking. Investments of time, which people hate to lose. Someone said earlier that people hate to lose. It's one of the greatest emotions. We hate to lose time if we've invested a lot of time in a course of action, a project, a business, a relationship. The second is emotion. If we put a lot of emotion into a course of action, a product, a course of study, a relationship, or money. We hate to admit that we made a mistake and that what seemed like a good idea at the time has turned out not to be a good idea, and knowing what I now know, I wouldn't get into it. And have the courage to cut your losses and run. Now, the reason I teach this first is because you can't make any progress unless you clear the decks, unless you get this 800-pound gorilla that's holding you back out of your life. And then many companies that I've worked with literally transformed, became multi-million-dollar companies when everybody said, all right, we're going to go through and do a quick analysis on this whole company and realize that half the things that we're doing and half the people working here are not the right people for us at this time. And half the products that we're offering aren't selling and never will. They've been replaced by better, cheaper, faster products in the marketplace, so cut your losses. What happens when a big company gets into trouble? They bring in a quick analysis man, and he comes in with a chainsaw and he shuts down all the factories and all the stores that are not profitable, and the company goes from profits to losses in 1 year. Anyway, the second thinking tool that I teach people is WPO thinking, which is worst possible outcome. In everything that you're doing, always ask yourself, what is the worst possible outcome of this course of action? And can I survive it if it were to occur? And if not, what could I do to make sure it doesn't happen? One of the number one reasons that we worry about anything in life is because of fear. And when you ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen in this particular situation? And then if you can say, all right, if that happens, I'll live with it. Then your worry goes away and your mind goes clear and calm. And now you say, now what can I do to make sure that the worst does not happen? And then you become proactive and you take charge of your life.
One day I was invited on to visit a big ship, one of those big touring ships that they have, those luxury liners. And I went on board as a guest of the captain, and he took me to the steering cabin where they operate the whole thing. And I was amazed. Those big ships you see, those luxury liners, they are controlled sometimes by just a little control thing, because it's all computerized. And he showed me, on the ship that I was on, there was a little wheel that they used to steer this big liner. And he turned it. He said that would take the ship to the right. That would take the ship to the left. And he was just showing me how it operated. And you know, as he turned the wheel, the ship didn't turn. It just stayed the direction it was in. He turned it the other way. It stayed in the direction it was in. He was turning and directing the ship, but the ship was not responding to the direction. You know, and right at that moment, I learned a principle. You cannot steer or direct a ship that is standing still. If you're not moving toward a goal, God cannot direct you. There we see it in verse 9. The heart of man makes his plans, but the Lord directs the steps up. Everybody say planning. I hope that you will go home tonight and you would write down what you want to accomplish for the next 60 years. I'm talking about spend time and do it. After all, what have you done for the last 20 years that you could give an account of? What have you really accomplished since you've been living on this planet for the last 30 years? What have you really done to count for this generation? Nothing. Matter of fact, most of you have been spending your time making someone else rich, fulfilling someone else's dream at the expense of your own. You know, you should never work in a place where your dream can't be fulfilled. Let me say it again. You should never work in a place where your dream cannot be fulfilled. If you know your dream, then you know where you should work. Hello, somebody. You don't just get jobs, friends. You get assignments in life. You were born to accomplish something, and God says, put it on paper. You know, in Habakkuk chapter 2, God tells the prophet, he says, take the vision and write it down and make it plain on tablets of stone so that those who read it can run with it. You know, the reason why we don't succeed in life, because we don't know what we want to succeed in. It's impossible to be successful and to be rich and wealthy and effective by going to work every day and living off a salary. It's so depressing to just be employed. It's more exciting to be deployed. I'm going to talk to you guys over here. Let me say it again. God doesn't want you to be employed. He wants you to be deployed. He wants you to release what you were born to be and not just float around life letting people hire your gifts. What you are carrying is too valuable to be prostituted for a salary. What you have is so awesome that people should vie for it. They should compete to bring it into their presence. I am so valuable you couldn't hire me. Because what I am worth, you can't pay me. So if I work with you, you are blessed. If I work with you, you are privileged. And that's the way you should handle every job you take. You should tell your employee, you are fortunate that you got this quality with you. Hallelujah. Tell your boss, you were sent to work with him, not for him, because he can't pay you. Every job, to me, is a temporary classroom on your way to graduation to your purpose. That's why you should never allow anyone to dictate your value by a salary. You see, when a man pays you a salary, he's telling you how much you're worth. Nobody has a right to do that. So you just remind yourself that a salary is just a token of appreciation for that person allowing you to deploy yourself in assisting them in accomplishing their and your goals. Anything less than that is slavery. Purpose, passion, and what? Planning. Everybody say you got to have a plan. Come on, hit your neighbor. Just say you got to have a plan. Ask him, do you have a plan? Say, go ahead and get one. Isn't it amazing? People are living Monday through Monday without a plan. Could you imagine the pilot leaving the airport without a plan, a flight plan? They end up anywhere. And they always get a plan before they leave. And the plan is passed on to the towers and all the other airports in the district so that everybody will know what the plan is, so they can cooperate and coordinate his directions. That's exactly what God says. He says, you make the plan in your heart. You put it down, and I will direct the steps of your plan. By the way, let me read one verse here that's very powerful. In verse 2, it says, all men's ways seem innocent or right to him, but motives are weighed by the Lord. That means when you're making your plans, you make sure it's not according to your ways, but according to the purpose God gave you in your heart. Verse 3, commit to the Lord whatever you do. That's the planning. And your plans will what? Succeed. Boy, isn't that beautiful? What are we talking about? Success. He said, if you submit your plans to God and say, God, see if these lines up with your purpose for my life. And if they do, he says, God will see that they are successful. He'll make a way.